Okay, I need to say this immediately. The person who made the biggest show of being finished is not finished. If somebody suddenly blocked you, cleared the conversation, or disappeared in a way that felt almost too deliberate, this may be your reading. They wanted the ending to look clean. They behaved as though removing your access was the same as removing the connection. It was not. And while the communication looks empty, I am also seeing somebody checking whether you have moved on without letting you see that they are looking. This is a collective reading, so take what genuinely connects with your situation and leave the rest. The deleter does not show somebody calmly putting a phone away. The phone is being thrown. This feels emotional and impulsive. Somebody forcing a final decision on the outside because they had not fully made it on the inside. For one part of the collective, seeing your name made it harder for them to maintain the separation. For another, the deletion was a performance. They needed to appear certain, perhaps to themselves and perhaps to somebody watching what they did. But look at what happens immediately afterward. Recalling brings them straight back into the connection. A familiar drive, a place you went together, or a problem you once would have helped them solve keeps pulling their mind toward you. And it is not always the dramatic, romantic memory that catches them, or how they could tell you the embarrassing part of a situation without feeling judged. Your absence has made those ordinary things much louder. Then journal appears after the deletion, and that is very revealing. This person removed the conversation, then created another place to continue it alone. I feel private writing here. A message saved in their notes, an unsent email, or an apology rehearsed until they already know the first sentence. A few of you may have seen a typing notification disappear or a message removed before you could open it. For most of you, nothing has reached you yet. The reason is that they know a casual greeting may not be enough after the way this ended. They cannot simply appear and pretend the missing part does not exist. This person is trying to decide how much they must admit before you will allow the conversation to continue. And this does not feel like one passing night of loneliness. The full spread moves toward an actual meeting and a much more serious return than the first message may suggest. Somewhere in their mind, they have already imagined seeing you again and finding out whether there is still a future here. What they do not know is which version of you they will meet. You may answer warmly, or you may ask the exact question they have been avoiding. They may also fear that they waited so long that the person they remember is no longer waiting in the same place. That uncertainty is why the message keeps changing. But there is something else. This ending may not have happened between only two people. I see outside voices, private discussions, and a version of the story that changed depending on who was listening. While this person was making the ending look final, your relationship may have been placed on trial somewhere you were never invited to defend yourself. At first, I thought this was only somebody quietly checking on you, but these cards make it bigger than that. The troll sits beside a hidden doorway. This can show indirect observation, looking without wanting to be recognized. If you blocked this person, they may occasionally check through an older account or a mutual friend's page. If neither of you uses social media much, they may ask one carefully casual question about you and pretend the answer does not matter. This feels like concealed attention, not physical danger. They want to know whether your life has moved on without risking a direct rejection. Ebens strengthens that. The figure is studying papers and strange objects, so this person is reading between the lines because direct access is gone. A new photograph or a comment from somebody you both know may receive far more attention than you expect. They could also be replaying the last disagreement, trying to decide whether your final reaction meant hurt or whether it truly meant goodbye. Now wait, because Sister beside Inquisition opens another possibility for part of the collective. An outside opinion may have influenced how the separation unfolded. I do not think a romantic rival is the strongest interpretation of the feminine card here. This feels more like a sister, close friend, female relative, or somebody whose opinion carried too much authority. Your relationship may have been discussed in a room where you were not present, and the version of you placed in that room may not have been fair. They may have told others that you were demanding commitment, while leaving out how long they had kept you waiting. Or they described you as suspicious, without explaining the inconsistency that created the suspicion. If family expectations or a major difference between you already made the relationship sensitive, one private concern could easily have grown into a group verdict. That is the courtroom feeling of inquisition. One person stands below a row of judges while other people watch. Someone may have felt interrogated by family or friends, but I also see the viewer being judged through gossip, people deciding what you wanted, who you were, or why the relationship failed without ever hearing you speak. This may explain why people around them became cold, even though you never had a conflict with them, or why somebody knew a private detail you never shared. The breakup language may even have sounded unlike your person, as if other voices had entered the message. Then danger gives the warning. The mask has empty, unreadable eyes, so this is incomplete intention. If this person returns, they may initially wear the version of themselves they believe you will accept. They could show remorse to you while still protecting their image with everybody else. Genuine repair cannot happen in two separate stories. If they allowed others to believe you were the problem, are they willing to correct that impression? If they claim to want something serious, will they acknowledge you openly or ask to keep the renewed contact private until everything settles down? Their answer to that will reveal whether the mask has actually come off. This is where the reading becomes more specific about what your absence has done to them. The Good Shepherd beside gratitude tells me they are remembering the moments when you carried more than they admitted. You may have been the first person they called after a family argument or when a problem at work became embarrassing. You helped them settle down, think clearly, and deal with something before it became worse. At the time, they may have treated that care as though it would always be available. Now they are noticing that the people who enjoy their confident social side are not necessarily the people who remain when life becomes inconvenient. They remember advice they ignored. For somebody here, the exact problem you warned them about has now happened, and your words return to them afterward. So what they miss is not vague. They remember how you could hear the change in their voice before they explained anything. They remember that you protected their dignity even when you were disappointed in them. The quiet help you gave is much more obvious now that they have to manage without it. Then Lalita Tripura Sundari adds a very strong layer of admiration and sensuality. This person still finds you difficult to replace, not only because of how you cared, but because of the way you carry yourself. Your beauty, confidence, or that mixture of softness and strength remains vivid in their mind. Distance has made qualities they once took for granted feel rare. And water element shows how they may try to reach that softer part of you. I hear somebody beginning the conversation by explaining that life has been difficult, that they felt overwhelmed, or that they are ashamed of how they handled things. Some of that emotion can be completely genuine, but they also remember that your compassion used to move toward their pain very quickly. So the return may contain two real feelings at the same time. They miss you, and they miss what you carried for them. Missing the person who protected you is not the same as becoming somebody able to protect them. Now the contact stops feeling abstract. Chemistry tells me the first real conversation may become emotionally charged very quickly. Hearing the voice again, seeing the face, or even recognizing the familiar way this person writes could bring back more feeling than either of you expected. The chemistry may return before the trust does. And Come Together says they do not want to remain behind a screen for very long. The first message can still look harmless. Something reminded them of you, or they ask a practical question they could answer without your help. But if you respond, I see the conversation moving toward a call and then toward meeting in person. They want to know how you react when you can see them. Text allows somebody to edit every sentence. A real conversation does not. They are looking for your tone, your expression, and that first moment when both of you realize whether the old warmth is still present. For some viewers, it will be. For others, seeing this person again may reveal that the attraction no longer has the same hold. Either way, their goal looks larger than casual checking. They want to be close enough to find out what remains between you. I am not ready to call this reconciliation yet, because getting to know each other says the first meaningful contact has to reveal something that was previously kept inside. I see the conversation beginning softly. This person may admit that they have been thinking about you, that they handled the ending badly, or that outside pressure affected them more than they admitted. Those are the emotionally safer parts of the truth. The harder part is explaining what they told other people, why deletion felt easier than honesty, and whether they allowed you to carry blame that belonged to them. One direct question changes the atmosphere. There may be a pause, a change in their voice, or a sudden attempt to move back toward how much they have suffered. For one group, they finally answer and accept that the answer will not make them look good. For another, they say they do not want to argue about the past and try to move the conversation toward missing you. That reaction tells you which version of the return is standing in front of you. Renew shows a living creature protecting an egg while it cracks open. This person may speak about starting over, doing things differently, or building something new instead of trying to repair every piece of the old relationship. The desire can be sincere, but the change is still fragile. What happens after the emotional conversation matters. Whether they keep the next plan, remain present after receiving reassurance, or retreat once they know you still care. Then gentleness lands beside pentagram. The deer approaches carefully, while the second card carries the printed meanings of harmony and protection. This is protection, not spell work. Together, they show a slow approach, possibly a neutral meeting, cautious conversation, and no immediate decision about the relationship. There is one detail to watch for in this spread. They may suggest keeping the early contact between the two of you because they do not want other people involved again. That can sound reasonable, but it may also preserve the exact separation between the private story and the public one. Someone who has genuinely changed will not need you to disappear while they decide how honest to be. The apology may sound very emotional. The complete story, or the missing part of it, will show you what the emotion actually means. Okay, this is where the return becomes serious. This person is not only wondering whether you would reply. Somewhere in their mind, they are imagining a defined relationship and a different ending from the one you already had. Success shows a desired result being illuminated while figures remain partly hidden around it. This person wants the approach to land well, and rejection may affect their pride as much as their heart. Wanting to rebuild is different from wanting the satisfaction of winning you back. If their concern is only whether you still want them, the effort may drop once they receive that confirmation. I was ready to read the wedding as a straightforward commitment card, but those shadowed figures beside success make me pause. They may genuinely picture a future with you, while part of them also wants the victory of knowing they can still get you back. The wedding is serious, but I would not stretch it into a guaranteed proposal. It points more clearly to becoming official, acknowledging the relationship openly, and discussing a real future. That public element matters. A connection cannot live forever in private while other people hold a different story. If they speak about a future but still want you hidden from the very people who influence the past, the promise and the behavior do not match. Finally, completion shows separate pieces joining at one center. For some viewers, this becomes reconciliation. the truth is told, the outside influence is addressed, and both people build something more mature. For others, the missing information allows the cycle to close. You can understand what happened without choosing to return. This person may have tried to erase the connection, continued looking back, and eventually recognized what your presence meant. What matters now is whether they can approach without asking you to carry them again, and whether the truth remains the same when other people are watching. So if a message comes, you do not have to decide the entire future from the first notification. Let the conversation continue long enough for the missing information and their consistency to show. You may still feel the connection. You do not have to deny that. Just do not hand them the same access they once mishandled before they show you something different. The return may be theirs to attempt, but the terms of entry belong to you. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next reading.